This is the Sports Porch, Black and Gold, with your hosts, the Technical Director, the Grand Schwabini, and Hockey Jesus. Come on, Pittsburgh. Let's show a little Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates love. The Sports Porch Black and Gold starts now.
Out right side, Murphy shooting, save made, rebound on Lemieux. Hey! Shoots and scores! Miriam Lemieux and the Penguins lead 5-4, and you'd have to be here to believe it.
I thought we were going to get a little scratch my back with a hacksaw.
We can do that.
Welcome to the Sports Porch Black and Gold edition. You do not see our faces right now because you see the face of the voice of the Penguins, Mike Lange, who passed away sadly earlier this week. It was, of course, all over the internet, all over Pittsburgh, and we wanted to make sure we did a little tribute there to Mike Lange, legendary, absolutely legendary broadcaster for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Did you know he did the Pirates for a little while?
He did.
I did hear that.
He did.
Yeah, with Steve, with the Prince.
Steve Blass. Yeah. So before we go any further, welcome to the Sports Porch Black and Gold. This is the Black and Gold edition all over the world on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on X, and on the Gram. I am your technical director coming here. Hey, thanks for putting up the Steelers sign. I appreciate that.
I got rid of the Eagles.
Coming
Their
to you
time
from
is
the
come and
basement,
gone.
the basement studios, which is the much maligned basement studios in Monroeville.
It's pretty messy down here.
It is now again. Across from me is the Grand Schwabini. To my left in the studio is Hockey Jesus.
What's up, peeps?
Of course, you can catch the Sports Porch podcast. We drop it after every show, anywhere you get your podcast, the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And I'm going to drop a comment right now. You can listen to the Sports Porch on Radio PGH. That is our live streaming internet radio station. By the way, our listeners have gone up like 2,000% over the last month. Yeah, I'll show you guys his stats after the show.
From 2 to 3?
Yeah, no. From
2,000. No. 2 to like
I'm kidding.
20.
Guys, in the hundreds.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'll show you the stats.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you can check at any time.
Is it my dance mixes?
It is your dance mixes. Please, if you're not watching on YouTube right now, we encourage you, go on over to YouTube and subscribe at the Sports Porch podcast. We're growing that channel. We put out shorts there. We put out shorts on our TikTok page. You can just find us the Sports Porch. You see the black and gold logo on Twitter. So after the show, we cut things up and we put out shorts for the rest of the week, some hot takes and stuff like that. And look, if you hate us, we love you. Right?
We love them.
Yeah,
we love our fans.
Show us the hate. That's what we want.
Where else are you going to get a good 45 minutes to an hour of sports talk?
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, without commercials.
There's not going to be any breaks here, people.
No, we don't take any breaks. We go at it hard.
Times like these were made for taster's joy.
Wow, you're really showing your age with that one.
Commercial.
Coffee. Yeah, coffee. All right. Without further ado, let's move on here. I do have Hockey Jesus Steve to my left in the studio. And, Mike Lange, the legend, Hockey Jesus, I'd like you to memorialize him. I'm going to say, and OC on Instagram says pens are brutal. Yeah, we're going to do Hockey Jesus to start the show. And what does that mean? Well, you can follow Hockey Jesus on our YouTube channel at the Sports Porch Podcast. Hockey Jesus preaches after every single Penguins game.
Almost every Penguins.
Almost, for the most part. Well, they're not doing well, so I understand after doing the Buccos report a couple years ago, it's hard when they're losing.
They're not that bad. But
you can catch him on the podcast after every Pens game. He did the Four Nations tournament. He has the counselor on with him, Scott.
Did, yeah.
And it would be fitting to start the show this week with Hockey Jesus talking about Mike Lange. I will tell you, I was telling Mark before our other show, not originally being from Pittsburgh, but having roots here in my grandparents and my and living here now for 31 years. I did not know before I met you of either Myron Cope or Mike Lange. Right. But I watched a lot of sports in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to a lot of it now, as we all have. And I must say that between Myron Cope and Mike Lange, I really do believe this. that Pittsburgh had two of the greatest sportscasters of all time. I mean that, up there with Harry Carey. I mean, if you put Myron Cope, now this is a tribute to Mike Lange.
Yes.
But if you put Myron Cope in a Chicago in Wrigley Field and had him call the Cubs game, he would have had his own steak restaurant.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
He was incredible. And Mike Lange, the way that he would call a hockey, I didn't even care about hockey. And when I would listen to the radio and hear him calling games, if I was driving around at night for work, I would actually leave. And this is true story. I would actually leave the games on just to see if they scored a goal, to hear him call that play.
Yeah.
Because it was unbelievable.
Yeah, his goal scoring calls were some of the best.
Unbelievable. And the way that he came up with those phrases, it's been all over talk radio, but I'm going to give you this one little story. I was at Jurgles in the North Hills.
Okay.
Back in the 1990s.
Yes, it's not there anymore.
It's not there. It's up in
Did
Warrendale.
it just close?
No, it's in Warrendale.
In Warrendale. Yeah,
It used to be on Babcock Boulevard in the North Hills.
You were there with Chuck, I'm sure.
Chuck might have been there that night. Chuck might have been there, but I was there dancing, drinking, the whole hoopla thing.
Doing things you shouldn't be doing.
There was a guy who was sitting at the bar, reading a paper, reading the sports page.
Yeah.
Drinking a beer with ice in it. And I didn't know who it was. And one of my friends with me said, "Do you know who that guy is sitting next to you?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." I said, "That's Mike Lange." And I was like, "What in the hell?" I mean, this place was loud. And I was like, "What in the hell is he doing here?" I mean, I get it if he wants to go have a drink. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
But they said he loves blues music. And it was a blues band.
That's true. He does.
That's my only personal interaction with Mike Lange, but it's stuck with me my entire life.
Yeah. Did you say hello?
No, I didn't. I didn't say hello. I didn't feel like
you didn't want to bother him.
That's exactly right.
Maybe you were embarrassed of your inebriated status.
And the fact that you didn't know him probably didn't help.
I think it was a little of both of those.
Right.
But I'm just saying that, like, what happened when he passed away and they started talking about him on the radio.
Yeah.
That memory just came back to me.
Makes sense.
Like
flooded
wow,
back.
It
flooded back.
Yes. Asshole. Anyway, so
I was not as fortunate to even be in the same room.
I mean, I can't say I met him. I just know, there he was. Yeah. Then I found out that he liked to drink Miller Lite with ice cubes in it. I'm like, oh my God, he had a Miller Lite with ice cubes in it.
Yeah, he would have for the 12 years that he did radio with Porch. He said that after the game they would just have one beer and they would kind of just, at the end of the game, kind of come down with one beer and just talk about, what happened with the Penguins and how they think the broadcast went.
Yeah. And Marvin Mike Lawrence in the house. Mike Lange was a legend. Absolutely. HJ, what is your first memory of Mike Lange? Now, he started calling Penguins games in 1974.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed those games.
I'm sure you did.
You have. So first, Mike Lange is a legend. The thing that really is remarkable about Mike Lange is he'd never played a lick of hockey in his life.
That's interesting.
He came from California and he had to learn the game. He literally had to learn everything about the game because he knew nothing about it. So he came here in 1974. And then in 1976, they gave him the permanent job, which he held until, I think, 2021. 2021. And my memories are not good during the bad years because, I was kind of a fair weather fan. Although I do remember that call on the Lemieux goal when he was a rookie.
Right.
That was pretty amazing. I'm like, who is this guy? Mike Lange. And then, like, when they had their Stanley Cup run in 1990 and 91 and 92, that was the most memorable Mike Lange things that, you could, like the call there. That was during the Boston Bruins game in their first run for the Cup. And they came back. They were down 2-0. They came back to win 4 games and then actually won the next 4, won 8 straight against Minnesota.
Right.
So, and that was their first Cup. But the thing that's remarkable about Mike Lange is if you listen to him on the radio, you could picture the way the guys were moving on the ice. Like you could, if you were a visual person and you're listening to the radio and you were listening to Mike Lange, you could literally see the guys skating in front of you. That's what was amazing. Like I try and listen to it now on an NHL network when I'm in the car listening to games. it's just not as good. It's not as vivid. He would make the game very vivid with the way he would be able to say which way the puck was going, how it was going, who had it. He was seamless when he would do that. And nobody, it's going to take a while for somebody to get to that level. And the thing about Mike Lange was such a humble guy. Everybody who has a story about him says how, he loved to talk about hockey. It was like that time that you and I, Chris, we were at that one charity event, and Bork was there, and Bork was handed out his rings, putting it on. Mike Lange was like that kind of guy. He wanted people to experience hockey. He would have hated that ceremony because he hated things that were about him. He wanted to make it all about the game of hockey and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he loved the city too. So it's a tremendous loss for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but they did a great job with the tribute. Yeah, and I think eventually you'll probably see a statue somewhere, either of him or his vaunted microphone and headphones. Did you see they put that out at the arena on Saturday? I guess he was infamous for wearing these headphones and microphone that were like literally from the 1970s.
Yeah, I saw pictures of him in the late 2000s. He still had that on.
And Borky was telling the story like during like one of the cup runs, they had to get a backup pair, and they were so old they couldn't find parts for it. It's kind of like if you think of like Sidney Crosby now with his gear, because he's been wearing the same gear since he's been a freshman. Since he's been a rookie in the NHL, and so he had to hold the cord just the right way so his voice could come through the microphone, so people could hear him. And he would you couldn't squeeze it too hard. Bork, he was saying, he was like, just had the right touch, and he was always fiddling with his cord ever since then. Yeah, and I'm sure there are 1,000 stories about that. But rest in peace, Mike Lange. Your memories will not be forgotten. Your words will forever be in Pittsburgh Penguins' minds. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. He was with them when they were horrible. And and that was the thing, is that and I heard a couple of the older players that are still around talking about those years and saying that regardless of how bad the Penguins were, he always made it sound like it was an exciting event. Yes, absolutely. And they had like a 50-goal scorer, back then, but they just weren't a good team. Well, and the thing about Mike Lange too was he would tell you the truth. Like he wouldn't be a homer. Like he would say, boy, they're not having a good game tonight. That, he was always positive about the Penguins, but he was always realistic to say tonight they just didn't have it. They're going to have to get it back tomorrow. And the other thing, his instincts for the game were pretty uncanny. Like he would be like, man, I just feel like Max Talbot's going to get a goal tonight. And boom, wouldn't you know it, that game, he'd get a goal or something like that. He just had real good instincts for the way the game was played, which is remarkable for not even playing any of it. Yeah. That's a part of it that I didn't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't surprise me, because I think there's a lot of people out there who never, at a high level at least, or even at especially in 1974. Yeah, who never played. Yeah, I mean, hockey, the Penguins were only around for, at that point, 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. So, yeah, well, Mike Lange into the great ice rink in the sky. He's up there with the legends. I'm sure he'll be in the Hall of Fame if he's not already. He's already in. Okay, yep, already in the Hall of Fame. He will be missed, because I have listened to Penguins broadcasts since then, and all credit to the guys that does Borky still do it? Yep. He's still doing it, right? Yeah, he's on the television. If I could maybe get a word in. Sure. Yeah. So Hockey Jesus, do you have anything to share with us about his amazing creativity, how he came up with the sayings, the sayings, the wild goal calls? Where did it come from? How did he think of them? Anything like that? They would come to him. Like he would go out and talk to people, like call Arnold Slick from Turtle Creek, Okay. He had a knack for just that, like scratch my back with a hacksaw. Right. Where'd that come from? His linguistics, he would just think them up, and the way you pronounce it and the way it would come out, like it just flowed so well. Like it feels like it rhymes, but it's just like alliteration almost. Yeah. And he most of them he would be talking to people, like getting the fast lane grandma, the bingo games, getting ready to roll. These were things that just would come to him, and he would practice them before he would actually do them. And then, smoke them like a bad cigar when, we talk about Yager. Yager loved cigars at the time. So this was things that he came to him, but they were relevant for the people he was talking to. Like make me a milkshake, Malkin, it's just that alliteration. He had a real knack for doing it. And he made it. I mean, it is corny, but the way he would say it, it didn't seem corny. It seemed pretty cool, Yeah. Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. That's kind of, as an outsider, that's what I remember about him, was that he had really cool calls. Like nobody came up with calls like that.
And he didn't have a favorite. Like people asked him all the time, which one's your favorite one? He's like, I love a ball. They're like children to me.
Yeah, he got them. I heard an interview with him, and they asked him that question because that's like one of the first questions you're going to ask this guy.
Yeah, of course.
And he said that. He said, a lot of times he would be having conversations with people or meeting people out if he was having dinner somewhere, and he was always so nice and struck up conversations with people. And sometimes people would actually say, "Hey, try this out," and they would give him an idea, and he would either think, that doesn't really work, or he would say,
he would turn it into
he'd say, you know what, maybe I can use that. So a lot of his inspiration came from, like you were saying,
the fans,
the people that he talked to, and then he never wrote a list down. He never went into a game saying, okay, these are the ones I'm going to try.
Yeah.
He just had them in his head.
It just came to him whenever the goal was scored.
Yeah, it would be like, it would just pop out. Yeah. This is the one, like Michael motorcycle. And,
right.
And what was Lord Stanley, pour me a brandy.
Pass me the brandy.
Yeah. I always thought, to be honest with you, when I first started listening to him and I heard those things, being a non-hockey fan, I would try to figure out what the relationship to hockey was. I'm not kidding. Michael motorcycle. I'd be like, does that guy skate like a motorcycle? Is that why he said that? Honest to God, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So well, he will be missed. I mean, it's thankfully he had retired, so it's not like we're losing this guy in the middle of stuff.
He hadn't been on the radio or hadn't been at games because I guess his last 2 years he really kind of was in bad shape.
Yeah, he had some health issues.
He didn't want people to remember him like that.
Yeah,
that's so that's why you haven't heard from him in the past couple of years, because the health issues were so bad.
All right, well, rest in peace, Mike Lange. Later in the show, we'll have some more highlights. We'll save them for our exit. You can follow Hockey Jesus on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. And of course, this is the Sports Porch. If you're watching us live, you're watching us all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. So, Hockey Jesus, before we move on to the Steelers bullshit and the Pirates bullshit, because really right now sports, to include Pitt in this town, is a whole bunch of bullshit. And I feel like the Penguins right now are a bunch of bullshit too, but can you update us a little bit? They got destroyed by Ovechkin and the Capitals, right?
Mm-hmm. And something I predicted.
You did. What? Look, here's the thing I think most fans really want to know. For real. Are they in a rebuild or not? I mean, what the fuck is going on?
There you go. That's the way to talk about it.
There.
They've been in a rebuild for the last 2 years. They're just finally realizing that they are absolutely in a rebuild now that they're in the last place in the Metro Division.
Or are they finally admitting it?
No, they haven't admitted it.
Do you think they even realized it?
I
mean, the Penguins.
No, the players have not. And definitely the core three were in denial throughout the last 2 seasons. I think this year it's kind of hit them pretty hard because they've never really been in it from the very beginning. So I think this is the first year where it was like, wow, when we need to make a run, we can't make a run. And they only were in that position twice, towards the end of the year and maybe at the beginning of the year. And after that, it's just been downhill since. So that's what happens. They fool themselves into thinking they're in it, and they're not.
Okay, so Chris Chada says the Pens look horrible, completely outclassed. I watched both games in their entirety. This is coming from Instagram.
Yeah.
He also says, do they even have a real goalie on their roster? Paul Steele 69 on Instagram.
Chris must not be listening to my Hockey Jesus.
Thanks. I think he listens to them all. He commented on one the other day. Anyway.
Well, he would know how he feel about the goalie situation.
Paul Steele says on Instagram they've been in a rebuild since Jake was dealt. Now, for those of you watching,
even before that.
For those of you watching other places, I can't pull up our Instagram comments on the live feed just because of the way the software works. So I have to bring them up here. So anyway,
thanks for clarifying that.
Well, I did, we put everybody else's comments up, and I think they like that. I don't want these people to feel slighted.
Okay.
It's
very kind and caring of you.
Can we get back to the hockey?
Very sweet.
All right, back to hockey, Jesus. Please continue with your sermon.
So the issue was when the Penguins were in a rebuild, they don't have any draft picks to be able to help their situation. And they were never willing to sell at the deadline because they always were, quote unquote, still in it. And last year, honestly, they were in it till the last couple games.
They were.
So I mean, it's not like that's not true. But this year it absolutely was true. And if you've seen the moves that Kyle Dubas made, and I'm not going to go into the good and the bad because there are both. But he had to clean up a mess that Ron Hextall left. And he did do that, but he did create some of his own mess. And one of those things is the goalie situation. He did sign Tristan Jarry to a 5-year contract for way too much money, knowing that he did have 2 or 3 goalies in the minor leagues that could come up. And they thought they could plug in Ned while this is happening. Ned, I've said this 100 times. If you listen to my sermons and you've heard me here, Ned is not a starting goalie in the NHL. He's at best a okay backup. And that's what he is. And now they're trying to use him as a starting goalie. That will never work. The other thing that the goalie situation has is with Bloomquist, and I'm gonna lay it right out here, and I'm not trying to compare him to Marc-Andre Fleury, but every goalie has to start somewhere. And this is where Bloomquist is starting. He's 3-9 in his first 12 games with the Penguins with an 886 save percentage. That's not good.
Mm-mm.
But Marc-Andre Fleury in his first 20 was 4-16 with an 896 save percentage. Okay. So put that into perspective. It takes goalies time to figure out what their style is, and they need a coach to help them. And next year, maybe he comes up, maybe he only plays 30 or 40 games. But once again, if you look at Marc-Andre Fleury's, even in his second season where he came up and pretty much was the starting goalie, he was terrible. He was about the same. A little bit better in the win percentage, but his save percentage was bad. Wasn't until that third year where he figured it out. And he was like, oh, okay, this is how I can play this game. This is how I do it. So you have to be patient with the goalie. And the problem with Pittsburgh Penguins fans sometimes is they want immediate gratification. Now, you're not going to get that also because they have 2 of their best defensemen are actually offensemen. That's that's Carlson and Letang.
Right.
So they don't have stay-at-home defensemen. Oh, then their best stay-at-home defenseman, they traded away to Vancouver. That was Pettersson. And their good young defensemen, they're not bringing up because they want them to be in Wilkes-Barre for a nice playoff run to try and win the Calder Cup down there to beat the Hershey Bears, who have won back-to-back Calder Cups. And they're playing with them really well. So this is the thing about the Penguins. They should be waving the white flag. They should be trading as many guys as they possibly can to get more picks. Now, don't think that because they've got the most amount of picks of any NHL team in the next 3 years in the first 3 rounds, that means they're going to keep all the picks. They may flop some of those picks for guys who are ready to play in a year or two, as opposed to the draft, where when you draft in the NHL, if you're not drafted in the top 10, you might be waiting 2 years for these guys. And the Penguins don't want to wait 2 years. They feel like they can turn this thing around in a couple years. And that would mean that next year they would be competitive again. But in order to do that, you're absolutely right. They're going to have to find a goalie. And right now, they don't have one on their roster.
Okay, so official Chris Chada says getting pulled mid-game as a goalie has to be pretty embarrassing. Waving the white flag, no. And also, thanks for elaborating on the goalie stuff.
Yeah, I mean, every goalies go through rough periods, even the best ones. But they know how to rebound, and that's the thing that the Penguins haven't been able to do. They haven't been able to have a bad game and then come back and have a good game. I heard somewhere in the last 2 games, their expected goals against it's an edge statistic.
It's like 5.5 or something.
It was like 5 plus something, and they gave up 12 goals. They gave up 1 empty net goal, so 13 total goals, but really only 12 goals.
Quick question for the Jesus. You always talk about how you don't like the loser point.
Hate the loser point.
What do you think about, could they adopt the 4 nations 3 points for a regulation win? What do you think? Do you like that?
I think you're just doing the same thing. You're just adding more points into the system.
Yeah?
I personally love the idea of just you get 2 points no matter what.
You always talk about how you don't like the loser point.
Hate the loser point.
What do you think about, could they adopt the 4 nations 3 points for a
technical? We're not talking technical director.
Do you like that?
I think you're just doing the same thing. You're just adding more points in the system.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on.
You're playing the show.
I think
of just you get 2 points.
You always
What is going on? Are you telling me that we should be done talking about hockey, or do you want me to repeat everything like it's Groundhog Day?
I was messing with our Instagram feed and I accidentally took it off of mute, guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, that's our technical director
That's
for
TD in the flesh.
Yeah, this is what happened. I'm like, Mark, are you asking the same question? Wait, your lips are not moving. Yet I'm hearing you in my head.
Sorry.
Oh, man, that's embarrassing.
Sorry. All right. Anyway, go ahead, guys. Please.
I even forgot what we were talking about.
It was the 3 points in the 4 nations
the 3
for
points.
the regulation win.
They're never going to change this, so it's kind of stupid to talk about. But I wish they would at least just use wins and losses and then points, even though they're getting that loser point. Just keep that third column the hell out of the standings. Because if people would say that the Penguins are, I think they're like 23 and 36 now or something like that, people would recognize they're not in this fucking thing. Okay. But instead it's like 23 and like 27 and they're 7 points out of a playoff spot. It's garbage. It's all garbage. And I wish they would normalize it for what the points would be at the end of the year, because the points at the end of the year is absolutely what matters. You need to have between 93 and 95 points to absolutely be guaranteed. This year, you might get the 90. 90 might win it, but that's why I hate the loser point. And I'm glad that they didn't get the loser point against the Rangers, because for a while there it was 3-3, and I'm like, shit, they're going to get a point out of this, and that's going to be bad, because we're in 6th place now for lottery balls. The lower we go, or the higher we go in lottery balls, the better. And that's just where we are. The season's going to be over soon. It's not officially over yet. Technically, what I think the number now is we can go 19-3 or something like that, and still get in it. So we'd have to win like 12 in a row and then go like 7-3 the rest of the way. It's not going to happen, people. That is not going to happen. The Pittsburgh Penguins have only had 1 win streak above 3 games, and that only happened once, and that was way back in November.
So Amy says that was funny. So somebody appreciates my work. OC says last thing on hockey, and then we're going to move on. OC says stats question: shifts are tracked for each player. Isn't that kind of like tracking minutes?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
The number of shifts they go. If you divide it by their time, then you know how much they're on the ice, because they'll track time on the ice also. But normally a shift, you want to be out there 30, 45 seconds. That's it. Wow. You don't want to be out there longer.
Seems so quick.
TOI, time on ice.
There you go.
Defensemen are out there a little bit longer.
You know, when the Caps were on a long power play, and I think it was a 2-man advantage. I think
he was out there for 4 minutes.
Yeah, he was out there. I thought it was like 6 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was like 4 minutes. It was like 4 minutes and 20 seconds, something like that. But I mean, he's playing the offensive zone. when you're out there in the defensive zone and you're tracking down pucks,
Right.
anything over 2 minutes, if you ask any hockey player, and I've not been there, but they're like, you can't move.
Right.
You're lucky if you can get to the bench.
Yeah. It's amazing to think how short that time span is, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, when NBA players play 20 minutes, whatever. But then you think about all the effort that it takes just to skate fast, and you get very.
One last
very
thing
tired.
I would like to see the NHL do. I would like to see them shorten the season.
Yeah, like 70 games.
I think between 60 and 65 games is the sweet spot. They did used to do that years and years ago when they had less teams. And the reason they don't want to do it is because they want everybody playing everybody and twice.
Right.
So, I mean,
so everybody can see everybody.
Right. And they did cut down the number of divisional games. I think it used to be like 7 and now it's only 5 so that they could play more Western games. But I don't know. I just wish it was less, even if you only have to play, one division every other year. That's what they do in football, and it seems to work out just fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Amy May has one last question for Hockey Jesus. Have you played ice hockey?
I have not played a lick of ice hockey in my life. It's literally the one. Well, I mean, I haven't played lacrosse either, but that's the one sport that I wish I could have played growing up, but it just wasn't available to me.
Yeah. Volleyball?
Oh, sure. Volleyball.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Badminton?
Yep. Been there. Yeah.
Dodgeball?
Dodgeball. Yep.
Yeah. Kickball?
Foursquare.
You know,
kickball. I was a
kickball?
Great kickball player.
Kickball and Foursquare, man. Two of the best games ever.
They still are.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get a Foursquare tournament.
We should. That would be a lot of fun.
Hey, if you're interested in the Foursquare tournament, leave us a comment.
Let us know.
Somebody said, taste the biscuit.
Let us know. All right. The lovely Lauren Klein, the Pittsburgh property diva, has now brought us our snack, pittsburghpropertydiva.com. And yes, boys, it is that time.
It's been a few.
But we're back.
We're back.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness,
of the biscuit.
Yeah. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness,
of the biscuit with that honey sauce.
Don't get that honey
sauce on me.
I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Oh, yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yes, it is Trader Joe's snack time. And what is that? Well, I work for Trader Joe's down in East Liberty. Love working there. Great place to work. Great grocery store. So what I do every single week is I bring home a Trader Joe's product. We try it. We test it out. We give you our honest opinion. Now, Trader Joe's has not, my dog is Sassy. Our mascot is trying to eat.
Oh, yeah. Sassy's like, hey, no more talking. Let's get to eating.
Trader Joe's does not pay us for this segment, so it's not an official sponsorship, but I did get permission to do it, and we just have a good time with it. So tonight, this is a double shot here.
I was going to say there are 2 bowls over.
I think I see balls over there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Last week I was not on the show because I needed a break. You guys did a great job with The Counselor. Really enjoyed watching it, listening to it.
You look re-energized,
and I am re-energized.
You still look a little scraggy, though.
And well, that's just my look now. I'm going for something new. So
I don't think it's a good look.
I don't really fucking care what you think.
Well, if you shave, I think we'd all be pleased.
Do you think so?
Yes. I think if we took a poll with our fans, you would get unanimous shave.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Unanimous?
It's okay. Look, not everybody's good looking.
Yeah. I mean, you're making it better, easier for us. That's for sure.
Can't always be at the top of the heap.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Do you guys want to eat or not?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
Let me
ready
please
to
explain this, and then you can eat it.
Yeah, get those balls over here.
I was walking around the store, and I heard a customer say that she saw this on TikTok, which is always, you get this Trader Joe's stuff on TikTok and then it sells out. She goes, "Oh, I saw these on TikTok. They put meatballs in them." And I went, there it is.
There it is, the meatballs.
Trader Joe's segment. And I owe you guys one because you didn't have one last week. And I feel like the last couple Marks complained about. So
I don't know about
except
that.
the barbecue chicken. You like?
Well,
that, even though
he
you don't
he
like
liked
barbecue
it, but he doesn't like
He doesn't
chicken
like
on
chicken on
Right.
on pizza.
it. Go back and check that one out a couple weeks ago.
Chris Chata has a question for me, and then we'll get to it. And I do want to address this because
Hopefully it's about your look.
no, that's actually I'm going to show you what's about my look right now. That's Amy May saying
She's just trying to
She's
make
just
you feel
being
better.
nice.
she is.
Yeah.
She also
Yeah.
likes to stalk me down at
Mhm.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Saw her
Yeah.
the other day. She said.
Yeah.
She said, now you're going to tell Mark I'm back here stalking you. And I was like, well, you live in the North Hills and you come all the way down here to go to Trader Joe's. So,
Well, I mean,
So she has some appointments down there.
they're right. I know. Okay. OC says, I heard recently that Aldi owns Trader Joe's. Is that right? I was surprised to hear that. Okay. So I can't give you an official answer because I don't know how it actually works. But apparently Aldi, there's like a parent company thing where the parent company owns Aldi and also Trader
both
Joe's.
of them. Yeah.
So, but they operate different businesses. Pat off track. Mark doesn't look discerning about any food.
That's a good point.
All right.
Pat
so-
on track
But
there.
it's a Pat sighting.
Pat on track.
Okay, so this is garlic gondolas with Italian meatballs.
What?
Let me put the this is an idea. It's a combination of two different Trader Joe's products. This being the garlic gondolas,
Ooh.
okay, which is basically garlic bread.
Is this what was on TikTok?
Yeah, apparently I did not see it on
Mhm.
TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
then-
Well, we're going to continue the trend.
And then meatballs Italian style. So what the woman said was they put the
Put the meatballs in the
meatballs
gondola
in the
put
gondola.
the meatballs in the gondola
and shake it all up.
Which what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Why don't you just make it for us and then hand it to us?
Well, what I'm going to do?
Well, we're going to have to split them in half
I'm
because
gonna-
there's only two
Yeah.
gondolas.
Oh, only two gondolas.
that's all that came in the pack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I would
So-
think working at Trader Joe's, you would know how many
I
gondolas are in
knew
a
that
package.
going into it. Al, I'm cheap.
The question is, are you putting three meatballs in a gondola?
You know,
half?
if I took these guys to
Or
Ruth's,
six?
if I took these guys to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, they'd be fucking disappointed.
Oh yeah, we definitely.
Well, yeah, I don't want-
because we'd be with you.
Yeah, well, I don't want to eat commercialized steak.
all right.
We want it fresh off the cow.
Yeah.
Since you're the
right by the
hungriest,
right by the fire.
Okay.
you take a quarter, put meatball in there.
All right, come on, let's
You're gonna
go.
have
Get
to
this
use your
stuff going.
napkin.
We got some
Oh, this
Bucko
is-
talk coming up, so don't leave us.
And we also have some Steelers talk coming up too.
Bucko's talks, Steelers talks, right around the corner after
Yeah.
we feed our faces
Yeah,
here.
I
on
don't.
the porch.
All I know, this is all coming. You want to just try it like that first?
Yeah, I'll try
okay.
it like that.
Okay, it's all anecdotal. Here, I'll give it to.
Can you give me a
Yeah.
napkin?
It's right there.
Oh man,
Okay.
this is napkin worthy. Here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see. It's like all the butter and juice is like
Yeah.
flowing out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just heard. I heard this person talking about it.
Mm.
I just didn't hear the mechanism how they put it together.
Mhm.
It looks like kind of like a poor man's meatball sandwich.
Right.
You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to give
It's
our fans a.
It's meatballs on garlic bread.
It's meatballs and the garlic bread, but I'm putting 2.5. So I guess if you were to get them, you'd put 4 in it. But
I'll tell you what, it smells delicious.
yeah, it's definitely got a lot of butter on it.
Yeah.
Mark's already digging in. I think he's digging them over there.
Mike Lawrence says more ladies would stalk you if you shaved. And Amy says Aldi is great too. I've been inside an Aldi, but I've never actually shopped there. I went there for an interview and they turned me down.
Do you know anything about this TikTok craze with these things?
No, nothing at all. I just heard a lady say, "Oh, I saw these on TikTok. They put the meatballs in them." And I was like, I'm running with that.
I bet there's probably different sauces on TikTok that peeps put them on. I'm a big ketchup fan. How about you guys?
I like ketchup.
I like tomato sauce on a meatball sandwich.
Yeah, on a meatball
So-
sandwich. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you could also put on this like that tzatziki sauce. You know what I'm talking about?
huh.
Kind of like
You mean tzatziki sauce?
yeah.
Yeah,
Gyro
it's like,
sauce?
Yeah, gyro sauce.
It's like feta cheese and like
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
Greek yogurt.
Mhm.
Yeah, these are actually pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say. What do you think, Mark?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's good. I'm not saying I would turn it down. But if I wanted to eat a meatball sandwich, I would rather have a regular meatball sandwich with tomato sauce on it.
Right.
I
So
agree
then-
with that. I agree with that. These meatballs are a little big for this boat, too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe I should have gone with those party meatballs. I had the mini meatballs.
Maybe. Then you could just bite and, just have one meatball. These, you got to bite into the meatballs.
You got to bite the balls.
Yeah, you got to bite the balls. I just want to swallow it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just want to get a ball in my mouth and swallow it. That's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
One ball at a time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Pat says Aldi pricing is crazy. $20 versus $40 anywhere
Pat,
else.
I didn't know you're pinching pennies down there in
Yeah,
Florida. What's going on down there, Pat?
Did you break up with your girlfriend?
Your sugar mama is no longer paying the grocery bill, I guess.
Is she out of her walker?
This is pure speculation. We love Pat. He's an
We
old
do.
friend. He goes back to our college days.
I think
he
everybody
knows it.
knows. Everybody knows we love Pat. The
Mhm.
question is, does Pat know we love Pat?
He does.
In a brotherly kind of way.
Mhm.
Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
All right.
I guess it's time to grade these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let's do this. Let's grade the whole product together.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then just give me your take on if you can separate out the gondola from the meatball. Schwaber?
I would say together a thumbs down.
Okay.
But if I was just looking for garlic bread, I would say thumbs up on the gondola.
Okay. Excellent. Meatball, no opinion on that?
Meatball's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing special.
Okay.
I think by themselves without a sauce on them, I give them a meh. Like
The
like
meatballs.
this,
Yeah.
the whole thing. The whole thing.
Okay.
The meatballs, I feel the same way. But I do like the gondola. I think the gondola by itself would be good with like a pasta with the red or even an Alfredo sauce.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty killer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd definitely give 2 thumbs up to the gondola.
Yeah.
Not sure about this TikTok thing by putting the meatballs in it. They may be off a little on that.
Does Pat go shopping in a golf cart? Says Amy May. I heard that's what they drive in the village. I think the answer to that is yes. All right, Trader Joe's snack time. I give it a thumbs up for just kind of hearing an anecdote about, they put meatballs in that and not really diving in and seeing it, finding it.
Right.
I'm sure. And if anybody out there wants to grab TikTok and look up garlic gondolas and see if there's a recipe for it, I bet you there are more ingredients.
I'm sure
maybe
there
some of
are.
our pasta
There are
sauce
probably like 50,000 videos on it.
could be. Who knows? So Trader Joe's snack time.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's people that are doing it with the tomato sauce.
There you
Yeah,
go. Okay.
there you go.
Okay.
See,
All right. So
tomato sauce.
if you want the ones that taste the best, but I give it a thumbs up. I like the tastes, and I don't like everything Trader Joe's has to offer, but on this one, I give it 2 thumbs up. I like both the meatballs and the garlic gondolas.
Actually,
think
every single person here has it with tomato sauce.
Okay.
There
So
you
go.
that was the deal right there.
Mhm.
All right, you guys are watching right now. If you're watching live, you're watching the Sports Porch podcast all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, X, and the Gram. And of course, you can catch the podcast after the show. We drop it right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And please hop on over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel at the Sports Porch Podcast. We're getting close to 100 subscribers there. I'd really like to get us up to around 1,000 and see what we can do there.
Yeah.
We drop shorts after the show. We drop shorts all week long. We drop reels on Instagram. We drop shorts on TikTok all week long. Pick up our TikTok channel, pick up our X channel. You can catch up with us, leave comments. Hey, if there's something you want us to talk about, put it in a comment, put it in a DM, do something. We'll get it in the show. And we'll probably open up our phone lines in the coming weeks if you want to call in live and talk.
Yeah.
We'd love to have an interaction. It's the dead zone, and that kind of speaks to what we're going to do next. This is the time of year where we used to really enjoy what we thought was going to happen with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, picking a hangnail and it just rips that skin all the way up your finger. You know what I'm talking about, right, Schwaber?
Not as much as it seems you do.
Wilson, Fields, Stafford, Rodgers, what the fuck? Look, for me, the bottom line is this. The Steelers have a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have a quarterback right now.
Right.
So all of this talk about who would you go with, should it be Justin Fields, should it be Russell Wilson, is a completely moot point And here's my take, and then I want to hear what you guys have to think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very, very likely that both of those guys sign somewhere else. That's the way I feel.
Unless there's something going on that we don't know about, like unless Tomlin has already told Justin Fields they want him to be the guy.
I mean, that's a possibility. Do you want a meatball?
No, thank you.
Okay, you?
I'm good.
Next time, I think pay attention to the recipe and bring the appropriate tomato sauce.
Jesus Christ! Can I get an amen? All right. Anyway, what do you guys think? I mean, I think there's a possibility that I don't hear anybody talking about, and that is that neither one of these guys come back.
I'm going to let Mark go first.
And then what?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I'd say if I had to put betting odds on it, I'd put the betting odds on Justin Fields. The more time moves along, I feel like it's probably not going to be Russell Wilson. I think that there's a chance for maybe a Matthew Stafford.
No way.
There's probably not interest in Aaron Rodgers, probably just because of the age.
Agreed.
But I think, look, if the Steelers are looking at this as hey, we've got a decent defense, we have another good draft, maybe sign a free agent receiver, we can make a run at it. Because look, at one point they were 10-3. Now, sure, they did not show well against the best teams in the league down the stretch.
Awful.
However, they were 10-3, which basically means they can beat just about anybody except the elite teams. So if you make some additions, you could get more into that elite team conversation. And I think so if you would be open to an alternative, a quarterback, I think Matthew Stafford would be that guy. He's a guy who's won a Super Bowl. But he's different than Russell Wilson because he's still really playing at an elite level.
Right.
He is. That's true.
So I could see that being the case if that's what they want to do, if they want to try to win a playoff game next year, if they feel like they need to do that, if nothing else to shut the fans up, I could see them going that route. Otherwise, I think that they would stick with Justin Fields and see if they could develop him.
Well, I agree. I love your optimism, by the way, but I think you're fucking crazy. And here's why. Because the Steelers are playing the waiting game because they're trying to get these guys on the cheap. And that's the dumbest fucking thing they could do.
That's what I'm talking about.
What they need to do, they just need to give them the money that they want if they want them, sign them, and get them going on the offense right now. Like I said last week, they're not doing anything with the offense until they know who the friggin' quarterback is. And they don't know who the friggin' quarterback is. And you keep hearing more names thrown into the goddamn mix.
Yeah.
They're never getting Stafford. They're not giving up 2 first-round picks for him. They wouldn't pay him $50 million if he wanted $60 million. They're not going to pay him. They think the quarterback position is a position where you can manage it with somebody who's going to make between $25 and $30 million a year. And even that might be too much for their stingy asses right now. They've got to get this done. And I don't care who it is, unless they're thinking they're going to move up and get somebody in the first round this year. And I wouldn't even do that this year because the quarterbacks this year, garbage. I would wait till next year. But they're not even going to do that. So what they're going to do is they're going to dick around with these two guys, Fields and Wilson. And I think what will end up happening is somebody will like Fields more than they like Wilson. And if they start looking at him and start looking at him and saying, "Wow, we can get him for $25 million for 2 or 3 years, and it's not guaranteed money." Let's take a chance on him because you're right. The quarterback play in the NFL right now is pretty much garbage. So I think it's a disgrace what the Steelers are doing, and frankly, I'm embarrassed for our organization that they're doing that with the most important position on the field. Instead, you know what they're going to do first? They're going to sign T.J. frickin' Watt to an extension because that's what Rooney wants to do. He wants to sign him first. He wants to lock him up for, another 3 years, and then they'll go after the quarterback. And that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there are 8 teams that have quarterback questions.
Okay.
8 teams. Now, I might not remember all of them, but I'm going to try. The Jets, the Browns, the Colts, the Titans, the Raiders, the Giants, the Vikings, because Darnold is
free agent,
and
but they got JJ McCarthy.
Well, I know, right. but there's still a question. The Saints,
a changing quarterback, I agree with.
Yeah, and the Saints. Okay, do you think that one of those teams? Now, who's got the number 1 pick? Tennessee,
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
it's not a deep quarterback class.
Well, here's the thing.
So
I'm going to say it is not a deep quarterback class.
No, it's not.
But I do think that there are 2 quarterbacks that are first round worthy. I think that Cam Ward and Sanders are. So I think
I agree with you there.
So I think what your question is, like if you're Tennessee and you're picking first, it's, do you bypass the quarterback because you don't think that they're elite? Do you take like an Abdul Carter, best edge rusher in the draft, and then either bring Willis back next year, or is that his name, Willis?
Peyton Wilson.
No, not Peyton Wilson. I'm talking for the Titans.
Malik Willis is not on. He's not on Tennessee.
The quarterback.
Yeah,
on Tennessee,
I know who you're talking.
He's not on Tennessee anymore.
Yeah, but there's somebody with a similar name.
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe that's a team that takes a Justin Fields flyer.
Right.
Let's take a Justin Fields flyer for a year. Let's bring in Abdul Carter. We'll make the defense better, and then we're right back in it next year if Fields stinks. So that's like something that like a Cleveland could do too.
That's true.
So
but I think Cleveland would be more interested in Justin Fields, and same with the Jets. I think they would rather just take a quarterback like that just to plug a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and supposedly the Steelers brass was sitting down this week before the combine to talk about, and discuss
what the hell have they been doing since they lost.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what drives me crazy. You're right. They got too many people making too many making too many decisions. Stop talking about it. Figure out who it is and just sign the guy. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's
well,
garbage.
I mean, at one point you have to think that it is entirely possible that they approached either player's camp, and the camp is saying, we'll wait it out and see what we're worth. I mean, that's entirely possible. So we can't just assume that they're sitting on their hands. However, it does kind of fit their MO. So,
this is the way they've played with this position since Kenny Pickett.
I'm sure there's a number that they could throw out there where the Fields or the Wilson camp would be like,
And the reason they haven't is because they want to tie up TJ Watt longer.
Yeah,
more money.
And that's what I'm saying. What I'm not hearing talked about at all is just that. The longer they wait, the harder it's going to be for them to get either one of these quarterbacks at the price they're willing to pay, or something they deem reasonable and they can negotiate. I just have a gut feeling that we're not going to see either one of these guys in a Steelers uniform.
No, you might be right there. I think
could be wrong.
The longer they dick around with it, the more that becomes possible.
What is their pick? Is it like 20, 21?
I think it's like so there are 16 teams that don't make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like 19,
18,
20,
19.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now.
Yeah, 19,
because I wonder, could they be looking at, maybe they see like a Shedeur Sanders. I've seen him like falling to like 10 or 11.
21st.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so he's going to, Shedeur Sanders might go 10 or 11. Would they trade up to try to get him?
I doubt it. I don't think they're going that way this year.
You don't think so?
No, I think they're happy if they can stay where they are and they get that Marcus Golden as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think they'd be perfectly happy with
They have one pick in each round except the 6th. And in the 7th round, they have 3 picks. So they have picked 21, 52, 83, 121, 161, Nothing in the 6, and then 223, 229, 245. So
245 is a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Purdy's down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Lots of Purdy's down there.
Well, here's the thing. They have one pick in each round. I mean, there's not a large crop of new talent that they're going to be bringing in here. And they've got a lot of holes to fill. And in the coming weeks, we'll talk about those holes. I'm just waiting for a comment, Schwaber. Nothing?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. And as far as Stafford, I love this. Schwaber, have you seen Stafford's wife? She ain't leaving LA for the Duquesne Slopes. This is very true because she's
although they have a nice family and Pittsburgh's a great place to raise a child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure is.
Tell Russell Wilson that.
Sure is.
His dog died here.
Great kinder care.
I didn't say it's a good dog town.
Think the Steelers want to try another U Colorado quarterback.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Matt.
Cordell. Yeah, Cordell came from there. So
no.
Where did Cordell come from?
No, he did.
Oh yeah, you're
I'm
saying.
I'm just saying no to that.
All right. Sorry. So yeah, Steelers draft needs real quick. I would say everything.
Yeah, we went through this last week. They need a quarterback. They need a running back. They need some defensive tackles, and that's pretty much what they need. And they're not going to get it all in the draft, so they're going to have to dig deep. They're going to have to go into the free market and get some of these guys. I like the idea of getting a free agent as a running back. Mark likes the running back in the draft. So,
That's a one bite meatball you're working there.
I know. I'm
Chris.
sorry. All right.
that's too big of a meatball to put in your mouth.
Yeah, it was all in there, one bite.
What can I say? I like balls. Catch the Sports
And he's got a
podcast.
big mouth.
We drop it right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify.
Used to opening wide.
The friggin' podcast. Please hop on over to YouTube right now and subscribe to it at the Sports Podcast. Help us get over 100 subscribers right now in our push for 1,000. The Pirates. All right, look. Everybody who watches us regularly knows that Mark is a Phillies fan, and there's good reasons to be a Phillies fan. And one of those good reasons is that they rarely go more than 5 years without having a competitive team. What's the longest you can remember where it was like, oh, not again? I mean, it doesn't have to be accurate.
No, I mean they did have a 10-year bad stretch at one point.
Okay, 10 years.
after 93.
Yeah, I was going to say early 90s into the early 2000s.
And then 2002 I think is when it turned around with Utley and Rollins.
And it's been pretty much, fairly good ever since.
Since then it was good for about I'd say 7 years when those guys were in their prime, and then when we hung on to them too long, and then we were basically average, for 5 years, and then back again.
Yeah, and
once you got Bryce Harper,
what do you credit?
That helped.
What do you credit most for? This. I'm leading you. What would you credit most for the fact that the Phillies don't ever seem to linger in the basement for a long time?
Just because we have an owner who wants to win, who wants to spend money.
Right.
It's about spending money.
There you go.
And look, they don't spend as much as the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Padres.
Close. And the Mets lately.
Yeah, they don't spend as much, but hey, if you're in the top 7 or 8, you got a chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Top 10 got to be in the top 10 if you're in the top 5.
And
a few of those are going to drop out.
I am a Baltimore Orioles fan, and we had a miserable time for close to 15, 20 years. We did have a few bright spots in there, but the difference is we had an ownership issue where there was a fight between the sons of the late owner, Pete Angelos, who was dying, and it was who's going to take over? And once they worked that out, they revamped their entire farm system. They have a very low payroll, but a lot of great young players. Now they're at the point where they have to start spending money probably in the next 2 to 3 years to keep some of those guys around.
And they lost a couple because they didn't.
That's right. So we're going to see. The Pirates, I heard this. This is interesting. They actually bring in more money from revenue sharing than their entire payroll costs them.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
makes sense.
What in the hell?
Well, I mean,
I get it.
They lost supposedly somewhere between 15 and 25 million because of the TV contract last year.
Yeah, but they're still making money.
But they don't think of it that way. They think of it as we lost 25 million. That's 25 million less we're going to spend on payroll.
Yeah, yeah. And I got to tell you,
I know the way these Pirates think.
Yeah,
they're brilliant businessmen.
They are.
They're terrible if you want to enjoy a baseball game.
Yeah. And it's really so look, if you want to break it down, like OC on Instagram, Danny Berger's assistant hitting coach, that's Vogelbach. Like, listen, there is nothing that this team is doing that is even remotely be considered as a competitive move. Nothing. They got lucky when they got the 1-1 pick, and it was a slam dunk. If they didn't draft Paul Skeens, I don't know, somebody was going to get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it was like drafted. I know there was like a debate about that other dude whose name everybody's forgotten, but it was kind of like draft Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, the problem as I see it is that they do have a generational talent in Paul Skeens.
Right.
And their window with Paul Skeens is 4 years. Now
including last year.
Yeah, now is the time to make the moves if you're going to try to win around Paul Skeens.
Right.
And they basically spent the first year of it doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really disappointing about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
their first full year.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the pitching staff seems all right. But like, you know, the hitting is just it's abysmal. I mean, there's no, I mean, really, I mean, if you want to call Brian Reynolds an all-star, I guess you can, but the reality is there's no feared hitter in the lineup.
Well,
anyway.
Brian Reynolds won't be an all-star now that we have Skeens. He'll be our all-star.
Right. Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
So he was only an all-star
Right.
because you got to put somebody there, and he was our best player at the time.
Now, the one thing that Sports Radio talked about this past week that I thought was actually really on point was the positions in the field for the Pirates. You know, you got a first baseman who's injured. You got a second,
and they knew he was injured.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You got a second baseman who's a utility player. You got a shortstop who is not a shortstop. You got a third baseman who's got back injuries. You've got a right fielder who used to play left field. You've got a center fielder who used to be shortstop. You've got a left fielder who you're not really sure what they are good at, you know, and they went down the line, and it's like, you got guys that are like, they don't even belong in a major league lineup. They're not even everyday players. And listen, I called this a couple years ago. O'Neal Cruz is not going to be a superstar. He strikes out more than anybody.
I would say he's got a chance, though.
I think his chance is gone.
Well, but isn't this like the third full year?
Well, this will be the first full year he won't be playing shortstop, so
Right.
maybe he can focus more on the bat.
Yeah,
as opposed to being.
I'd say there's a chance. Now, do I think it's likely that he's going to be superstar? No, but I think there's a chance that he could be, you know, a quality major league player.
I honestly think
right, a good role player on a good team. For us, he has to be a superstar,
Right.
which means he's average.
Yeah,
Right.
I honestly believe that now, of course, there's a lot of things that go into this. You know, do you have the right coaching? Do you have the right this? Do you have the right that? Which the Pirates have none of.
Well, they're keeping the coaching from last year, so clearly they think they do.
Well, they got a new hitting coach, but other than that, I think O'Neal Cruz, for as tall as he is, has huge issues with his swing. And can that be coached? Sure, but they don't have the right coaches. I think when you take a guy who played his entire life at shortstop and throw him into center field at the major league level, which is arguably the second or third most important position, it's the number one position in the outfield. Now he's got to completely learn how to play that, plus not how to strike out all the time. I just don't see this as a recipe for success. And, again, I go back to, they got lucky with Paul Skeens. He was the one on the board that everybody knew was going to be a hit. But look at their last few draft picks. Endy Rodriguez, nothing impressive about him. I don't care what anybody says. Henry Davis, do we even need to say it? Nothing impressive about him at all. Bubba Chandler, we'll see. We don't need any more pitching. I mean,
oh, you always need more pitching.
What I'm saying though,
especially when you have no hitting.
If you're willing to commit to Skeens, and you're willing to commit to Jones, and you're willing to commit to Keller, who we've all been saying was a good 5
ERA in the last half of last year.
Yeah, actually, I think it was higher than that. But we all did say he was a good number 3 guy, and he is. Mm-hmm. Then why in the hell aren't you trading Bubba Chandler? Why in the hell aren't you making a push for Vlad Guerrero Jr. or somebody in that lineup? We all know the reason, but we know there's a lot of Pirates fans out there. I wish to God we could talk about something positive coming out of their lineup. And we're going to try to talk a little bit more Pirates this year, but just don't be surprised if it's the same old shit.
Or it's very negative.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Because it will be. I mean, there's no way to go positive with this team, with the way the ownership runs it. And it's frankly pathetic.
I think Pat Off Track sums it up. He's the next Sean Dunston.
He does sort of look like Sean Dunston.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's a good ending to this segment.
All right. Yeah. On the Sports Porch podcast, which you can find on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And of course, on the YouTube channel at the Sports Porch podcast. We drop the podcast right after the show, and you can also listen live on Radio PGH at radiopgh.com. Our last segment of the evening is what we are watching, and the Grant Schwabini is going to tell you what this is and why we do it.
We do this for you. We're selfless, and we take care of you, our viewers, our audience. We know what it's like when you're trying to find that show, and there's so many choices. There's Netflix, there's YouTube, there's Apple TV Plus, there's Prime, there's Hulu, it just goes on and on and on. And we know that you sit there, you watch trailers, and you think, should we watch that? Should we watch this? And what ends up happening is you look at your watch and you're like, oh, 45 minutes have gone by. I got nothing. I got to get up early for work tomorrow.
Time to go to bed.
Time to hit the sack. Well, not anymore. There's no need to surf. We'll do it for you. We will tell you what shows are worth watching and what shows are not worth watching. Tune in here, and we will be your guide.
Thank you, Grant Schwabini. The only requirements are that you have to have finished the season that you are watching. You don't have to finish the whole show. If it has 5 seasons and you finish season 3, give a review, or you have to complete the entire documentary or movie, good or bad, then you can give a review. So tonight, first up, Schwaber.
Oh, I have finished Cobra Kai.
I have not.
Is this the, how many seasons does this have?
Well, I think it's a total of 4, and like the last season 4 is like 15 episodes.
Holy hell. And it's
they split it up,
Yeah,
right?
they split it up.
So I've watched the first 7,
right?
And then the last one just dropped.
Right.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to tell you, man, it's really good. I mean, look, honest to God, I mean, look, anybody can watch it and they can probably say like, oh, the acting's not great or, whatever. But, if you love the Karate Kid story,
right?
I mean, they do an amazing job, just giving you all the backstories of Johnny Lawrence, and Miyagi and, all the guys, Kreese and all that stuff. And I thought that they really kind of ended it in a really, really cool, good way. Just really good, feel good. My wife Amy is, shedding tears at the end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And you know what? The bottom line is, Karate Kid and Cobra Kai will probably never die. because I did also see a trailer of a new new Karate Kid coming out with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, it's over in Japan.
Yeah, it's over in Japan. Jackie Chan comes to get Daniel-san to go out and teach his son Miyagi-Do.
God.
And it's just a lot of fun. I just really enjoyed it. I think if you just want to watch something enjoyable, you'll love it.
All right.
I can't wait to watch the final episodes.
Oh yeah, it's good, man.
Cobra Kai on Netflix, the Grand Schwabini.
That'll be a this weekend thing.
Mm-hmm.
HJ, you are watching.
Okay, I've been watching The Watcher.
I started that.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was really into it. I don't really know why I stopped
Watcher
watching.
on
it,
Well,
but, yeah.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Well, first of all, this has been out for a while. This came out in 2022.
Yeah.
So this is not new. This is not one of those you'll see in the top 10. This is probably, something that you saw and you're like, that looks interesting, because it's based on actually a real story of a couple that bought a house in New Jersey. And this one, I think they're trying to say, they don't say where it takes place, but it looks like it takes place more in like Rhode Island. Big, beautiful house. This guy's kind of got a broken up life. He makes okay money, and they had to stretch to get this house. You know how the story goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know that, that basically the house has a history to it that nobody knew about.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And all the neighbors are absolutely bizarro weird.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like you have this couple across the street that are retired, and they're always out in the lawn, like watching the house. And then you have a couple behind them who it's not a couple. It's a sister and a brother who live in a house, and he had something that happened to him 5 years ago, and he decided he just didn't want to talk anymore. So he's a mute, and this house is
he's a mute by choice.
by choice, right? And so they buy this house, they love the house, and then immediately they go to their mailbox, and there's a letter in there. They're not sent anywhere. It's just a written letter, and it's hand typed, and it basically says, "I'm watching you." And they have to figure out who's watching them. And they realize that everybody and it's a very small neighborhood, right? Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows
at the club.
At the club. And then there's a chief of police who knows everybody. And like, you're sure you have it all figured out. And then it ends and you have nothing figured out.
No.
I think it does have an ending, but it does open itself up to have another second season. I don't think I would watch it.
I don't think they're going to have one.
I remember when I watched it, it was in the top 10 when it came out.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's if you like a drama movie that's kind of creepy, it's pretty good. But I thought the acting was pretty bad.
It's a movie or a series?
It's a series. It's it's seven episodes.
That's what I thought.
It's like 45 minutes to an hour.
I started watching it. I got an episode and a half in, and I gave up.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't like.
I think I watched like 3 or 4.
I had to see it to the end so I could talk about it.
Right. Sorry.
And I was disappointed. Yeah, the acting is terrible.
All right.
The story is predictable, but the ending isn't that predictable.
Gotcha. But still bad.
Still bad. I would not suggest this. You waste your time on this crap.
HJ says no to The Watcher on Netflix. Now, boys, I actually watched something that has 5 seasons. Sassy, get down.
Get down.
I watched something that has 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
And I watched all 5 seasons. I dedicated myself.
Well,
to
you haven't been
the
on for 2 weeks.
thing.
Is this something that you've talked about before? Are you going to tell me like
That's pretty sick,
The Walking Dead again?
No. But what I am going to say is that I'm just going to tell you what it is.
Was it selfish watching?
It's called The Last Kingdom.
Sounds like you.
And it is on. Oh, it's totally me.
Looks like Highlander.
It is on Netflix. The Last Kingdom. 5 seasons. There's actually a follow-up movie to it, which I'm going to start watching this week. It is essentially a historical drama. It is based on the creation of a unified England back in like the 800s. And it takes a lot of historical characters, but a lot of this stuff, it's not completely chronological. They kind of mash stuff together.
Gotcha.
Some of this stuff happened like 100 years apart, but you know,
it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Like there's a Starbucks coffee in it.
Yes, and
accidentally on purpose.
I know. Proof that people travel through time. But no, it's not dragons or elves. It's all real people, but
no trolls.
No, it's basically about the formation of England as a one unified country. And back in the 800s, the Danes, or what we thought of as the Vikings, but they were actually Danish. The Danes were coming over on their boats and they were raiding Saxon lands, and then there was infighting, and it's like it's actually the acting is really good. It kind of reminded me in a way of like Braveheart. The battle scenes are very realistic.
Wow.
They actually use what seemed to be time period appropriate tactics and weapons and stuff.
Jousting.
It was believable.
No jousting.
Okay.
It was very believable.
Anybody we know in it?
Alexander Draymond plays Uhtred, who is a made-up character for the whole. It follows his bloodline, basically. Emily Cox is in it. And there are a bunch of British actors that are in it that I think you would recognize, but I was looking at their names and I didn't recognize their names. But I got to tell you, if you like that kind of stuff, it's excellent. Absolutely. All 5 seasons were really good. And I would highly recommend it to anybody who's into those like historical pieces. But they use artistic license and it's dramatized. So like, for example, I have a friend who watched it as well. And she said after it was over, she went and just used the Google machine and looked up a lot of these. And it's like, yeah, the King of England, Alfred the Great, he was a real person who had these people. These were their names. But like these things happened in, I don't know the years, but like, for example, 700 AD. And then this other thing in the show happened in like 850 AD. So, none of these people lived that long.
Right.
But for the effect. So 5 seasons, good watch. Lots of great drama, lots of great battle scenes, lots of great twists and turns. And there was
what happens? Does England get unified at the end?
Well, I'm going to find out when I watch the movie.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, if you just fast forward to the present, yeah.
Excellent commentary from the Grand Schwab Beanie, as usual. Mike Lawrence, The Last Kingdom is pretty good. Watched it about 8 or 9 months ago. Thank you very much. 5
seasons. That's a lot.
Yeah.
How long are the seasons? 10?
10. Yeah, every single season is 10 episodes. Yeah.
So it's a 50 burger.
It's a 50 burger all the way. 50 burger all the way.
I think I'm out.
All right, guys. Listen, you might like it though. There's some
no. It is stuff that I would like, but I don't know. I'm not ready for the 50.
If I told you there was pretty good medieval sex in it, would that?
Oh well, I assume that.
Okay, good.
I'm thinking like.
Is it like raunchy and raw? No.
I wanted to wait because I didn't watch Peaky Blinders right away. But once I got into it, I really liked it. So if this has to be like that, or I'm not going to make it.
Well, this is not new. This is not new. I think it ended like 2 years ago.
I know, but it has to be that good for me to keep wanting to go with it for 5 seasons.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, it's good. Just give it a shot. Start season 1.
Well, think about it.
I'll put it on my list.
Well, think about it.
You can think about it.
Part of this is you guide us, but we do choose our own path.
Yeah. I know. All right. Listen, I want to thank everybody for watching the Sports Porch Black and Gold Edition all over the world, live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And of course, right after the show, I'm going to queue it all up and drop it in the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And of course, please subscribe to us on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. And guys, to take us out tonight, I have a little montage for Mike Lange.
Okay.
All right.
Some of his great calls. So for the Grand Schwabini, for Hockey Jesus, I'm your technical director. R.I.P. Mike Lange. We'll see you next week.
You left side, walking to the net. Here he comes. He shoots and scores. Miriam Lemieux. Oh, great balls up. It's a knocked off a skate by Lemieux's in a goal. A shot. Hey! Shoots and scores. Miriam Lemieux beats Casey like a red and mulligan. In a little mode, makes a little move. Hey! Shoots and scores. Miriam Lemieux beats Mold like a red and mulligan. With a chance, back again. Capitals in, cuts for the net, makes a move. Goes around behind, stuffs it in. Oh, what a play by Lemieux. Michael motorcycling, cuts for the net. Lemieux's in, his backhand shot, score! Oh, stop the press! Miriam Lemieux beats Malarchuk, and the Penguins win it 7-6. Yager feed it across here, Lemieux right in front, makes a little move. Hey, put that in! As he beats Beaupre like a rented mule, and the Penguins lead 5-4. Short-handed, going for the hat trick. Lemieux breaks in against Shirley, makes it moving, shoots and scores. The speed, turns inside around him, makes the move, shoots and scores! Oh, great balls of fire! Miriam Lemieux! Bork and Adam Oates. Coming to the Bruins, they got around both. Nick cutting for the net, he's in on goal. Hey! Shoots and scores! What a goal by Miriam Lemieux! Carl Arnold slick from Turtle Creek. What a goal by Lemieux! And Beesbrook had it, he gave it away to Lemieux right in front. Lemieux waits, shoots, scores! Miriam Lemieux! Doesn't get too many passes. Lemieux behind the goal, turns around in the back. Shoots and scores! Got a man wide open, Gunny for the net. Stevens going to get it to him. He shoots himself. Hey! Shoots and scores! Miriam Lemieux again! Lemieux cutting for Terreri. His shot. Hey! Shoots and scores! Miriam Lemieux, a short-handed goal. Lemieux's going to come right towards that net. Lemieux makes a little move.